Welcome to the Legends Behind the Craft podcast, where we feature top leaders in the wine and craft beverage industry with your host, Drew Hendricks. Now, let's get started with the show.
Drew Thomas Hendricks here. I'm the host of the Legends Behind the Craft podcast. On this show, I talk with leaders in the wine and craft beverage industry. Today, we have a very special guest on the show. She's the very first woman winemaker in Michigan. But before I introduce her, I got to introduce the sponsor. Today's sponsor is Barrels Ahead. At Barrels Ahead, we work with you to implement a one-of-a-kind marketing strategy, one that highlights your authenticity, tells your story, and connects you with your ideal customers. In short, we help wineries and craft beverage producers unlock their story to unleash their revenue. Go to barrelsahead.com today to learn more. Bianca Harmon, Barrels Ahead's D2C strategist, is joining us again today. How's it going, Bianca?
It's going great, Drew. Looking forward to talking to Nancie today.
Yes, I am super excited to talk with Nancie Oxley. Nancie is the Vice President of Winemaking at St. Julian Winery in Michigan. And as I said, she's also Michigan's first female winemaker. How's it going, Nancie?
Good. How are you guys today?
I'm doing really good. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So Nancie, in the pre-show, you talked about how this is the earliest season for harvest. We're recording this right now at the end of August.
Yeah. So we actually started harvest last week. It's the earliest in the last 21 years that I've been here at St. Julian that we've started. So it's a little bit crazy. We were behind earlier in the season. We had pretty late bud break for us. It was still in May, that first week of May, but oftentimes we'll have bud break at the last week or the last 2 weeks of April. So we caught up in a hurry. The weather's been fantastic here all summer. It's been nice and warm. And we had a new varietal for us that was ready to go. So Osceola Muscat.
Osceola Muscat. Now, is that
Osceola Muscat?
Yeah, now I really want to learn about your founder story, but now I'm kind of curious. Tell me a little more about this Osceola Muscat. And
so there are all kinds of new varietals that are being created at different universities that are better suited for our cool climate region or cold climate. So whether it's Cornell, the University of Minnesota, Illinois, they are creating some different things all around. And Osceola Muscat is a newer Muscat varietal that has all the great things that Muscat does for us for winemaking in terms of aromatics and acid retention. But it does a little bit better here in our climate. So I've never worked with it before. So far, the flavors are absolutely amazing on it, and we're excited to get it going. If you hear an alarm in the back, that's our press. Sorry.
Oh, geez, yeah. If you hear hammering above me, there's going major construction. So we're just going to roll with it.
All right.
So Nancie, do you have to use native rootstocks, or can you use grafted rootstocks up there in Michigan?
Both. So some of our varietals are on their own rootstock here, but most are actually on commercial grade rootstocks that are hand selected for the different sites that we have varietals planted on.
Okay, yeah. So it is actually warm enough to do the graft.
Yeah, so most of our vineyard sites, especially in the last 20 years, we have a 3309 or a 10114 are the two rootstock selections that most of our growers are using. Sometimes you'll see SO4 or a Riparia-based rootstock, but the 10114 and 3309 seem to be the best suited for what we have going on down here in Southwest Michigan.
Are you getting grapes from other areas?
In terms of what we're harvesting?
Yeah, are you purchasing your grapes from other areas?
So we are wholeheartedly committed to Michigan here. So this year on the docket, we have about 4,200 tons of grapes that we'll be processing, and 99% of them are coming from Southwest Michigan. Wow. So all within the Lake Michigan Shore AVA. So if you look at Michigan, I don't know, my hand's kind of funky here.
Yeah.
Actually, I got to do it backwards this way. We're down here in the Southwest Michigan. That's where the Lake Michigan Shore AVA is. Occasionally, we do work with growers up in the Leelanau and Old Mission Peninsula. But Michigan is our thing. So our belief is to be a true winery, you have to grow grapes in your backyard. We already know Napa makes fantastic wines, Sonoma, New York, anywhere, Oregon. We have all these great wine regions of the world, but they built their regionality and their prestige of their wine regions based on what they're actually growing, not what they're bringing in from other areas. So that's what we're trying to do at St. Julian. We're really committed to that. It's been a huge effort. It's been a huge undertaking. Currently, we have over 1,000 acres that are contracted with local growers all down in Southwest Michigan. We have our own estate vineyard here that our owner, they have 25 acres planted. So we get to play around with some of that fruit that we get to kind of manipulate further and push to new directions that we don't expect our growers to normally do that. But yeah, we're committed to Michigan. So Michigan grapes, Michigan cherries, we process blueberries, peaches. We have a spirits program, and we're working with Michigan corn and
yeah, you have one of the most diverse
and
product portfolios of a winery that I've ever seen.
My mind is blown. I mean, so like, what are you using in this Mulo mint chocolate wine?
that is the one product that we have that is not necessarily coming from our particular region. So we have a few of these obscure things. We have Mulos.
Some strawberry milk, I think.
Yeah.
I'm like, where are they
coming from local cows? So no, but we're doing like limoncello here too. And of course, we're not growing any lemons here in Michigan, but we are Italian roots in Michigan soil. So we have some of these obscure pop-up things that we're doing, but the core of our portfolio, everything is here from Michigan.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. That I was like, wow, where are they getting these grapes that make Mulo mint chocolate wine or Mulo chocolate wine?
Yep.
That's some fun
crazy
stuff.
product.
Okay.
We got to get into that, but Nancie, I got to know. So, how did you get into the industry and being the first woman winemaker in Michigan?
I mean, I think being first was by luck, but my undergrad is from Purdue University in food manufacturing operations. So that's food science, food manufacturing, and management kind of all compressed into one degree program that they had going on. The India International Wine Competition was also hosted by Purdue University at that time. And that was my summer job. And so I got bit by the wine bug. We didn't really grow up drinking much wine. My parents didn't by any means. And so my professor was also the wine buyer for American Airlines at that time. And he said, go do an internship. So my parents and I went out to California. We went to 5 different wineries, and a few of them were in Napa, a few were in Sonoma. And he said, you can intern at any of them. And I chose Geyser Peak at the time. So Harvest 2001, I was out in California in Sonoma, worked under the tutelage of Daryl Groom, who prior to coming in the United States made Grange for Penfolds. And he is a very well-known winemaker in the wine world. He currently is making Colby Red with his son, and all the proceeds are going to the American Heart Association. So a great person to learn a lot from. I still call him my wine dad in a sense and visit when I go to California. But thought I would have to go back to California. But I grew up in the Midwest. I'm an Indiana girl at heart and happened to send my resume up here to St. Julian. And what my background was and my interest was kind of the missing puzzle piece at that time. And I've essentially grown up with the winery. So I've been here since Harvest 2002. So technically 20 years, but Harvest number 21 for me. And which is crazy because I'm still only 21 years old. So but a lot of rich history here in Michigan. My husband's family is one of our largest grape growers. So I have that aspect now that ties into what we do here at the winery, but we're very close-knit family. St. Julian's a close-knit family, still family owned. And that's how we run business around here. So
that's amazing. So over the last 20 years, how have you seen kind of the St. Julian as a winery grow and the Michigan as a wine region? How has that evolved?
Yeah, so gosh, there's so much that is happening in the last 20 years, which makes me laugh because I always say, well, 20 years ago, which I mean, 20 years before I got here, we were still trying to figure things out, figuring what to plant where with our different growers, selecting the right sites, selecting the right varietals with the right growers. Some growers are more in tune with growing the French American hybrids versus vinifera. Where the winery sits in Paw Paw, we're far enough away from the lake that if we plant any of the European varietals, we're kind of pushing the envelope on what we can do here. The closer to Lake Michigan, the better for us for the Cabernets, the Pinots, the Rieslings, things like that. So I think that's evolved over the last 20 years, essentially, actually over the last 40 years. But for us getting into this region, and doing what we're doing, the last 20, I think we're dialing things in. There's a lot of new people interested in winemaking. When I started, I think there were 25 wineries. Now there's over 150 in Michigan. So the wine industry has grown incredibly. There's, a lot of longevity of growers, multiple generations. Some of our growers are seventh generation. A lot of new ideas that are popping up, a lot of people that are willing to push the envelope, try new things, try different things, and great ideas that are coming from all over our state. So,
well, that's fantastic. 150 now. Now, St. Julian's is over 100 years old.
Yeah, we're 101 years old. So we're the oldest winery in Michigan. We're the oldest, actually, craft distiller as well. But
that's really rare to see a winery that's also able to distill as well.
We do that. We make cider. We do sparkling juices. So yeah, our portfolio oftentimes has over 180 products in it at any given time. And that is attributed largely not only to the distribution of our products, but also to our wine club. So we have over 15,000 members in our wine club.
Holy moly.
In the United States.
Holy moly. How do you build a wine club to 15,000 members?
I was going to ask.
It didn't happen overnight by any means, but we're trying new and different things and trying to keep it new and fresh for all of our members. So,
and that's specifically just your wine club that's over 15,000. Not the spirits or ciders. Wow.
Yeah, no, like Cooper's Hawk has 300,000 members, but a lot of that has to tie into the fact that at the restaurants you get the discount, so they've got that steady stream. But to be able to build a wine club to 15,000 is just an incredible feat.
It's been a lot of fun. So 15,000 and growing. We like to offer our club members new and different things all the time. So we aren't just focusing on dry wines. We have a sweet wine club. We have varietal wines that are every vintage that are coming out. So every year you might receive our estates growing Sauvignon Blanc, but we're also doing proprietary blends. We have new crazy flavored wines. This year we did a lemonade sangria that seemed to hit the spot of the dry drinker as well as the sweet drinker, which was quite surprising. But it's the new and different aspect, and we're trying to do events for them. In 2023, we are taking a small group to Italy to travel with us. So back to our roots of where St. Julian came from, and just new and different, and always trying to keep it fresh. So our wine club director is amazing at new ideas, and she likes to push the envelope on things too. So.
Yeah, I mean, pushing the envelope is kind of an understatement, and I've never seen a product off. You like a full-fledged store with all the stuff you've got on there. Who comes up with these ideas? This is it.
Yeah, well, some come from our wine club members. A lot comes from our winemaking staff here. So everybody's quite passionate about what we're doing. Some comes from our wine club director, our marketing team. Oftentimes our sales team and wholesale, they'll come up with crazy ideas that they'll say, hey, can we try this? And I'm the first one that says, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sometimes things work, sometimes they don't. But we're always willing to try to see what we can do. And even with grape growing, we have an amazing group of growers that we're working with, and we have over 52 grape varietals planted, which creates a whole new conundrum of what we're doing here at St. Julian too. But we're learning along the way of what we're doing with some of these newer things that people don't have planted. We were the first people in the state to plant Albarino commercially and make wine from it. And it's proven to be an amazing varietal. It comes, out crisp, clean, pretty consistent vintage after vintage. We didn't know we could grow Albarino here until one of our growers approached us with the idea and said, hey, can we plant it? And we said, sure, let's try it. If it works, awesome. If not, we'll figure out what we'll do with it, another time. So, we kind of go into harvest every year or into our partnerships, whether it's wine club members, our growers, our customers that are coming in the door. We want all of that feedback. We appreciate it, and we roll with the punches with it all.
Yeah, with your dry wines, what so give us a breakdown of your dry wines and kind of the St. Julian house style there, or your house style, being the vice president of winemaking.
Yeah, so we have our core proprietary wines that you'll see if you go into any grocery retailer here, or convenience store in the Midwest. And that's what most people identify St. Julian with. So we have the Sweet Revenge, just the Envies, we call them our social wines. We have the Herons. But for our dry portfolio, they fall under our Braganini Reserve label. So the Braganini family, third generation, now fourth, just took over August 1st. So we're fourth generation owned and operated by family. And all of our top tier wines get put into that sector. So for that aspect, we have our traditional Braganini reserves that are going to be 500 cases on average. Wow. Also under the Braganini Reserve label, we have our Winemaker series. So between Kyle, our assistant winemaker, and myself, we'll do really fun, small 1-barrel bottlings that might be just 25 cases. We have some really unique flavors that we're working with that we'll do some of those that are 50 case blends. So those fall under Winemaker series. Then we have the Braganini Reserves that are 500, and then proprietary, something like our products of Sweet Revenge, we do 45,000 cases of. So we do the biggest of big, but yet we also are getting down to single barrel bottlings of what we're doing.
Wow. How's the distribution of that? Is that 45,000 cases? That's a pretty good chunk of wine. How is that? Is your distribution mainly in the Midwest, East Coast, or is it nationwide?
In the Midwest. So all the states essentially surrounding Michigan, that's where we're distributed currently. But then, our wine club, we can ship to all the states that we can legally ship to. So I think we're up to 39 that we can ship out to. Wow. But the core of what we're doing is Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, Ohio, Wisconsin, down in Kentucky now. So that's the core of what our distribution is. We've opened some states here and there. We've been in New York a few times, New Jersey, Virginia, Iowa, Tennessee, but we've kind of tightened the reins back up to bring things a little bit closer to home, build up what we have before we decide to expand again. So
that sounds fascinating. And then you've got your dry wines, then you've got the sweet wines, which I can look. I have to admit I've never had a St. Julian wine, so you got to kind of educate me too.
I should have sent you one.
You should have.
So sweet wines are what's essentially in distribution. So anything that with the St. Julian label, you will see out most of that product portfolio. You'll see somewhere out in distribution. All of our Braganini Reserve wines or dry style wines, you have to come to one of 6 of our tasting rooms or be a part of our wine club.
Now, what would the style of that be like if I was referenced any other kind of wine? Would it be similar to like some of the New York dry wines?
Yeah. So Michigan mirrors New York pretty closely. So Rieslings, Cabernet Francs, things like that. We do Riesling several different ways here. We do bone dry. We do late harvest. We've done a Riesling ice wine before. We have our estate Sauvignon Blanc. I think it is a good combination of what you'd find in Marlborough versus California. So you have some of that grassiness, but tropical notes. So I think it's a nice blend of both. We do a barrel fermented Chardonnay. So it has some oak behind it, but not, I want to say late 90s, early 2000s California Chard. It's not licking the inside of an oak barrel, but it does have a nice oak complement. So, but we're cooler climate. So our wines are going to mirror the cooler climate regions. Anything in Europe that's cooler climate, New York, things like that. So
that's definitely my style for sure.
What is a day? How do you keep up with all of these wines? I mean, and making them, and I'm just like, whoa.
Because some of these creative ones are definitely. I'm so anxious to talk about some of this. Pineapple
and like the day in the life of a winemaker with 160 wines. I mean,
well, we don't do all wines every single day. I mean, this is.
I figured that.
I'm putting this in front of my face. You go, I won't read it. It's a list of all the vineyards I was in yesterday. So I was in 36 different blocks of fruit yesterday. Sampling. So it starts there, and luckily we have a computer system that can kind of hash some of those things out for us. But we're constantly tasting, trying, blending, assessing everything that's going on here. So
I think it really fits with the latest kind of drinking style, especially from the craft brew and the kombucha and the seltzers. People are really they're looking for different flavors, and they're looking for better combinations of flavors. Is some of these like not just experimental offerings, like the pineapple rosé? Is that a new product offering? Is this something that's been around for a while? Because it seems like it's got to be resonating in the summer.
It's been around for I think 2 years now.
Okay.
Rosés are hot. Pineapple's fun. It's actually an apple-based product. all Michigan apples. And it actually started from our production of our ciders. So we had a pineapple rosé cider. We decided to introduce it as a wine for our wine club members. And yeah, it's been a hit so far. Watermelon is another one that I'm like, oh, watermelon, this sounds like a crazy idea. And it was first a cider-based product, and now we have watermelon wine.
Wow.
Yeah, we have peanut butter and jelly wine.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, tell me about that one. Does it really taste like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
Perfect for back to school. I make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches every day for my daughter. But it literally tastes like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So it's a Concord-based wine with some peanut butter flavor in it.
So it does have actual no nuts, but does have
it does have peanut butter flavor. Interesting.
It's peanut butter flavor in it. So if anybody has a peanut allergy, there is no allergens that are related to peanuts in it by any means. So you can actually enjoy it. And Concord.
Tell me about the mint wines now, the chocolate mint and the strawberry milk and the chocolate milk.
So they have a base alcohol essentially to them, and we use cream and different flavors to create them. So
it's like a liqueur almost.
It is. Yep. Almost like that. So like a Bailey's, if you think in terms of a Bailey's product, it's very similar to that.
Okay. That makes a lot more sense. Now, what about your cotton candy wine? Does it actually taste like cotton candy?
Just like cotton candy.
Whoa.
It's like a carnival in your mouth.
Carnival in your mouth.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That sounds so. Man.
And people love this stuff, I presume.
And people love this stuff. So some of these things we decide to do for our wine club members. So it's in terms of winemaking. As a winemaker, I don't want to say it's easy making wine, but it's easy to do vintage wines because we know what the expectations are. When we're harvesting Pinot Gris, I know how to make Pinot Grigio, and I know how to make Riesling, and I know how to make Cabernet and all of these things. And so for a dry wine consumer, they know the expectations of the wine as well. Even if it's a blend, we just released a nice new white blend called Wild Card, and it's Gruner Veltliner and some Riesling and Pinot Gris and a Chardonnay, I think. And so you have an understanding of what those varietals are going into the blend. But when you throw something out like that to a sweeter style wine club member, it's a different customer base that we're working with. And so when we can add fun flavors that they might be able to identify with their childhood, it brings out a whole new experience for wine. So wine can be scary. I mean, to talk about, I don't know how many times I've heard, oh, I want a Merlot. Well, wine can be scary. We're not scary people at St. Julian. We're very friendly. We're fun here, and we want people to drink wine. I mean, drink wine however you like it. If you want to put ice cubes in your wine, who am I to tell you not to put ice in your wine?
Do it all.
I personally don't do it, but whatever. If you like to drink your red wine chilled, go for it. Drink it how you like it, and that's kind of how some of these fun flavors have evolved.
Yeah.
It's a new experience for people. So the Bud Light drinkers of the world, if we can get them to try some wine, they're not going to drink peanut butter and jelly wine, I don't think, forever. But if that's how they get in to start understanding anything about wine and then graduate from there down to maybe Concord base and then graduate down there to a Peace Porter style wine, I think it's an amazing opportunity for us to capture those people in the wine world. And, I don't know if they'll be fans of St. Julian forever, but we can only hope that they'll try new and different things and, maybe approach it a little bit differently than a beer or a seltzer. So
it's that new and different, and also the fact that it's fun and just taking the intimidation out of it. A couple of weeks ago, I had Bill Wilson from Wilson Creek on the show. I'm down in San Diego, and Wilson Creek's a Temecula winery, but they got all their fame from their almond champagne.
Yes,
marzipan, and it just hit the industry by storm because no one had really thought of it was just very against the wine, the snooty wine industry to have something like that. But he brought it in, and he was dominating the tastings for years, and that's still one of their most popular wines. And we were talking about just how fun it was and how it just made it nice. It just made it easy for people to go and appreciate wine without feeling a little bit of that intimidation.
And I bet they captured a whole new audience that they wouldn't have before. They wouldn't have tried.
Oh yeah, they've got a coconut champagne. Yeah, they've got a whole line of sparkling.
Yeah,
favorite sparkling wines that are going just booming.
And you'll have the highly educated wine people that don't agree with what we're doing, but we're in the business of selling wine and making it and making sure people are enjoying it. And that's what life should be all about, a little bit of enjoyment. So
absolutely. Let's,
So you guys have, oh, no, keep going.
Go, Bianca.
I was just going to say, you guys have 6 tasting rooms. So where
Yes.
are all of these, I mean, where are the majority of your customer clientele coming from?
So Pawpaw is almost smack dab in the middle of Chicago and Detroit. So if you think about where those two cities are, we fall right in between there. So we have a huge amount of people that are traveling, especially people from Detroit. They're traveling up north. We have a lot of people from Chicago coming over to this side of the state. We have tons of things to do in Michigan in the summertime and in the winter. Most people, I mean, unless you're a skier, don't necessarily venture over to Michigan. But we have beautiful beaches here and golf courses and so much to do, especially in the summertime. So big city people are leaving town, especially during COVID, and coming out to the country per se. And that's what the western side of Michigan is all about and what we have to offer. So we have tasting rooms right before on the Indiana-Michigan border, essentially. They're all in Michigan. We have a tasting room in Metro Detroit. We have a tasting room up in the Grand Rapids area, so just north of us, about an hour and a half of where the actual winery is. We have a tasting room over in Frankenmuth, which is a little German town north of Detroit. Christmastown, USA, some people refer to it, but it's a German-based town. And then we have a tasting room over in Dundee, which has a huge Cabela store, and that's over on the other side of the state. So we've strategically have placed tasting rooms where the people are, essentially. So some have opened, some have closed over the years. I know back in the 80s, I want to say we had 13 or 14 tasting rooms open, and we dialed that back down. And in the last 5 years, we opened 2 new ones, one in the Metro Detroit area and one in Grand Rapids. So,
wow.
And what's the vibe on these tasting rooms? That's the hospitality has become such an important part with the wine industry over the last, 10 years, in particular, at least from what I've seen. And that I think a lot of it's been with the craft brew movement, and the brew pubs have gotten so much more fun. What's your vibe? What have you seen that evolve since during your tenure at St. Julian?
So 5 years ago, we updated the main tasting room, and now all of our tasting rooms reflect that same image per se, but each one is unique in its own difference, essentially. So the one on the Indiana border, we have a beautiful outdoor patio area and a huge outdoor space, which is perfect for the people coming over from Chicago. Our Grand Rapids tasting room, it looks like a big barrel that you walk through right when you walk in, and we paired with a restaurant up there. So it's a restaurant on one side, tasting room on the other, so you can have that food and wine experience. Here, of course, in Pawpaw, you're getting the straight up, full-fledged winery experience of production per se. So we're bottling here every day. We're crushing grapes here. So if you come here to Pawpaw, you're getting that experience. If you go over to Metro Detroit, a lot of them are focusing on events and different things that are going on there. Food and wine pairings. Frankenmuth is oftentimes pairing up with the different festivals that are going on all summer long in their region. So each one's a little bit different, but when you walk in the door, it's St. Julian. So we have that consistent vibe of who we are, our identity, a very approachable winery. We have a plethora of wines here. So if you see us in the grocery store, we might have 20, 25 wines on the shelf. But when you walk into our tasting rooms, you'll be offered, over 100 different products that are on the shelf. And we have tastings. So of course we want you to taste our products. We love to talk to you about our products. We love to tell our story, our history. And it's that whole experience. So when you come to see us, it's not just about an in and out. It's about coming in, experiencing, talking to us. We talk about Wine Club a lot and all the great things that go along with that, and truly find that connection with our customers.
Yeah. As far as the connection, so when you got it with 100 wines, how do you structure the tastings? Do you just do you can do like a reserve flight, a sweet wine flight, or kind of choose your own adventure?
Yeah, so pre-COVID versus post-COVID are a little bit different, but now when you come in, we have a product mix that you can choose from. So we have a pre-selected flights oftentimes that, we'll select them for you. We don't offer all 100 products to taste every single day.
Taste them all.
But for example, we'll have, 18 different dry wines on the list, and you can select 6 of the ones that you would like to taste, whether it's sparkling, rosé, white, red. We have our spirit portfolio that's also offered, and then we're family friendly. So we have sparkling juice tastings for the kids too that
fun.
come along with. So.
Oh, that's a great idea. Talking about sparkling juice, I want to shift to talk about your cider. I'm a big cider fan, and you got to talk to me about your Michigan cider.
Yeah, so our cider is all Michigan apple based. So we started making cider back in the 80s, and we purposely were making it for a local restaurant in town. It was Indian cuisine, and so they requested that St. Julian start making cider. So we did. And then cider kind of fell by the wayside. I don't know. I think that was impactful all over the United States. There weren't very many cideries that were even out there. Just a handful. Most of the ciders that were coming in, I feel like were woodchuck based or something coming in from England.
Yeah, that's the way it was. I used to sell wine back in the late 90s. And I think we had two. We had like Strongbow, and that was about it.
And Thatcher's probably.
Yeah.
And so I think cider kind of fell by the wayside. I always say that St. Julian was ahead of their time. So we are very good friends with Mike Beck of Uncle John's Cider Mill. And at the time, he was the president of the Michigan Apple Association. I think even of the U.S. Cider Association. He's held many different positions in the apple world. And he kept, pushing us to get back into cider. And finally, we pulled the trigger and we did. We tried to bring back our old label, which nobody really identified St. Julian with anymore because so much time had passed. So we relaunched our cider under the Forbidden Fruits brand. Okay. And so cider has been doing really well for us. So we have a semi-dry style original cider that we call. We do different flavors of cider. So in the marketplace, we have black, and we call it black and blue. So it's blackberry and blueberry cider, really cherry-based cider. Now we have this watermelon and pineapple rosé. But we do some seasonal flavors too. So for fall, we're getting ready to do cider donuts. We've done cinnamon in the past. We've done a lavender citrus before. So we kind of have a docket of new things rolling out. And those are all going to be keg-based on premise that will roll out for us for seasonal. Unless if something's a hit, then it'll become part of our portfolio moving forward.
Are they, some are sweet. Do you have some that are dry? What's the range?
Nothing that's bone dry. We did our lavender citrus was bone dry. It's been a minute since we've actually done that one, but most things that are in distribution will have a little bit of residual sugar to them. It seems to fit the profile best for us and our customers in our region. So,
do you have a cider club?
We don't have just a cider club. We've talked about it. Cider is a little more tricky to ship, especially having it in cans. Yeah. And we just actually increased our spirit portfolio, and there's some things going on in legislation legally in Michigan. We can't ship spirits at the moment. So we're hoping some things change so we can ramp up our spirit club too in the future. So
talking about spirits, when did that come into the equation?
It was in the mid 90s. I think we were licensed since 1998 as a distillery. And so we've been making a cognac style brandy for all those years. We work with all kinds of fruits. So we've made apple brandy, cherry brandy. We've made eau de vies over the years. Legally, we couldn't make any sort of vodkas until legislation got changed. And that's been several years now. But we're now making vodkas. We make vodka from grapes, vodka from cherries, Michigan cherries, and we make vodka from Michigan potatoes. And our potato
why
vodka.
Can't you make? If you can make an eau de vie, why couldn't you make a vodka?
It was in legislation and how the bill was initially written that a winery distillery could not make vodka. So,
yep, that's crazy.
Grape vodka would just
now
be
we can though.
Wouldn't it? Wouldn't a grape vodka just be an eau de vie?
Essentially, but no, because eau de vie vodka has to come off the still at 190 proof to technically be vodka, and eau de vie is less than that.
And then water it down, and then add water back down to 80. Yeah, I was.
Yep.
I guess I'm unclear about what actually classifies something as a vodka.
Off the still at 190 proof.
Off the still at 190 proof. Okay, well that makes sense. So now you can do vodka, and now so what's your most popular spirit?
Looks like the rums.
Rums are big. Unfortunately, we don't have any sugarcane in Michigan, so we're getting that outside of our great state. But vodkas are all Michigan growing, and that's huge. Rums. the vodkas, the flavored vodkas have been crazy for us. We actually now have a bourbon. So we've been working with Michigan grown grains that we've been laying down bourbon for the last few years. So we're going to have a Michigan grown bourbon. So
all these ones that are flavored, are you using or like what are, in your wines, are you using actually watermelon in your coconut rum and are you guys just adding flavoring, or how are you doing this?
It depends on what it is, but if it's a flavored product, we're using all natural flavors. So nothing artificial, they're all natural. So for watermelon wine, it's actually watermelon flavor that we're working with, but we have a blueberry wine that's 100% blueberries that we're crushing the blueberry fruit. Same with cherries. So it depends on what it is. Fruit wine.
The vodka from cherries is actually cherries.
Yeah, so it doesn't taste like cherries at all. It's not cherry flavored vodka. It's just vodka from distilled cherry wine, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had Rocket Vodka on the other
apples.
day, and they were distilled. Their vodka is made from distilled apples.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. We've done a little bit of that here.
Little slight nuance on that.
Yeah, so our vodka from cherries has a really neat floral component to it that you wouldn't expect from cherries, essentially. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I feel like have three different production facilities on the show. Because now the other thing I'm seeing is proof syrup, which is a great idea.
So we don't make proof syrup. That is a company that we've been working with. So now that
okay, so who found something to make? Okay,
we do not make the proof syrup. No.
Well, we found one thing that they don't make.
But it looks like a great idea. I mean,
but they have been great partners with us. So since we've expanded our spirit portfolio, it's really upped our game because we offer cocktails in our tasting room, and so it's been a really good addition. Yeah, so if you're not a wine drinker, you can still come into St. Julian and you can do a spirit tasting, but we also have craft cocktails that change on a monthly basis that you can enjoy those too if you're not that wine person.
So you probably have a full liquor license then there to serve liquor, because that's,
So we have to produce any of the liquor that we serve. So we can't serve Bud Light out of our tasting room by any means of how Michigan law is. So anything that we are serving that is alcohol based, we must make on site. So
wow.
So yeah.
Well, yeah. So the other company, Proof Syrup, just to continue what I like about it. So it looks like it's the bitters and the oils and the simple syrup together, so that you can. It's really almost like a ready mix cocktail. Add the spirits that you guys have.
Correct. That's exactly what they are. So
that's a great idea. I love it. So yeah, I'm just like pumpkin spice. I bet that's going to start. That's going to be popular coming up in the next few months here.
Yep.
So Nancie, with all this stuff, with all this, like it's like a playground, a creator's playground for alcohol. I can see how it's easy to stay motivated, but I always like to ask this: how do you stay motivated over 21 years of producing wine?
Well, I've been blessed working for a company that allows me to express my creativity. That's been a huge part of why I have been around here for so long. So the first 15 years of my tenure, Dave Bragnan was here, and he was a huge proponent of that. And upon his passing, his brother John took over, and he continued that same tradition. He was like, I don't want to inhibit any of your creativity. And he's like, run with it, do what you do. That's what makes, St. Julian's portfolio what it is. And that's what keeps me going every day. But not just that, but the amazing team that I have here. So we are a very large winery in terms of Michigan per se. And I couldn't do it without my crew. My crew's amazing. Some of these guys I've worked with for the entire 20 years I've been here. Some are newer to the staff. Some have been here for half the time. But their passion and their fuel and seeing, what they're doing and being part of this master game that we're playing of Tetris, I feel like most days, it's that teamwork and that family aspect of coming in here every single day that we're working together. So it's a great crew. They're fun to work with, whether it's front of the house or production, and we all motivate each other day after day. So
yeah. How large is your team now? I mean, that's
we have a small team. So in terms of winemaking, there's myself, our assistant Kyle, and then we have an enologist, Kayla, here. And we have 6 guys in our cellar, 4 guys on our bottling line, 2 in maintenance, and 3 that work our warehousing. So we have, right around 20 people that are part of that production team. But for the actual winemaking end of things and cellar, it's a pretty lean and mean crew. So we wear a lot of different hats in what we're doing.
Wow.
That is, and for the breadth of your offerings, that's you got to be an A team for that.
Most days we try to be an A team, but
well, Nancie, you've got, the courage to just kind of break boundaries and norms and just really just push the edge of what wine can be. It's amazing. Where can people find out more about you and St. Julian Winery?
Yeah, sure. So you can hop over to our website. So it's stjulian.com. So STJULIAN.com. And all of our information is there. You can find out about our website, our portfolio of wine. So that website's constantly changing. You can see where we ship throughout the United States. All of that information's on there. We have a big sale weekend coming up the weekend after Labor Day. So 25% off case sale. Oftentimes we're doing penny shipping here. So put together mix or match case and we'll get it to you for a penny. But yeah, we're pretty accessible. Our information's on there. We have a great team that answers any sort of questions. If you submit any sort of questions online. But yeah, we're here. We love what we do and we love to share all the excitement with all of our customers.
Oh man,
people like you guys.
Nancie, thank you so much for joining us. This has been quite an interesting discussion. I'm enthused to sample some of these.
Yeah,
well, thank you. Thank you. I'm excited to send you some stuff. So
have a great harvest.
Thank you. We will. So just getting started. So we have about 10 more weeks of crazy, but we'll get through it.
Well, thank you so much.
All right. See you guys later.
Thanks for listening to the Legends Behind the Craft podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.